Let's end on something that you said earlier, which is Christian innovation. You're saying like the church and the music from the church should be very creative. Let me ask you something. Which Christian producer is as good or better than Kanye?
Oh, Bellion. If I'm being honest.
Fair enough.
Bellion's like the only one I can think of off the top of my head that's that nasty. Like,
Yeah.
there's not many. But I
No.
mean, like, but it doesn't. That's not to say that they don't exist. But this is the other thing. Well, Bellion, a guy I like on SoundCloud named Paris Jones. He's kind of done some good stuff that I like. But yeah, like there's not like, I mean, but the other thing is, yeah, like Christian innovation, like we were talking about, like God's constantly creating, and Kanye is goated. Like Kanye is probably one of the best music producers to touch the industry, like since Timbaland and Pharrell. Those are like two of like the only other
Yeah,
people
I agree with
really,
that.
that can really mess with Kanye like that.
Dre.
Dre, yeah, like those guys are legends in hip hop. You know what I mean? But there are still like there's a ton of artists out here, some Christian, some non-Christian, that like even if their music's positive, just in general, their music's positive, spreads positive messages. You know what I mean? It might not be Jesus is king, but it might be like, it just might be positive music. And with the amount of good music that's been coming out since Kanye influenced hip hop and influenced pop culture and all of that, like there's such a better selection of artists to collab with now.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I could see, Chris, as long as Christian music, as long as they kind of put an emphasis back on creating something original and new and fresh.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that Kanye samples anyway. You know what I mean? Like new, fresh stuff that nobody's heard of because it's like in the pits of SoundCloud. You know what I mean?
And I think to shine some light on, like, if people are still watching this, we're going kind of long, but to shine some light on Christian creatives that I do think can hold a candle. Andy Mineo is one of the most innovative artists I've heard.
A lot about him. And NF.
Yeah. NF is cool. I wouldn't say he's necessarily super innovative, but he's got a sound.
He's got a sound. He's unique. He's got his own.
He has his thing, and he's built a brand very well. There's honestly, there are a lot of great Christian artists who have innovative sounds, and I think like one thing that I've been on is like, so my role is very different than Kanye. So I know I said all this stuff, and I don't want to be contradictory, but to me, it's like I know my role, and my role is to build up laterally and vertically this brand of like. So the people who I reach aren't all necessarily saved, and that's awesome. I love that. But the people who like I work with, who are in my circle and stuff, I feel like we can build horizontally. We can build up all sorts of stuff, and ultimately like bring more, not just revenue, but influence into Christian music, Christian hip hop, whatever people want to call us. Like the way to do that is to pull from a lot of different creative resources. And I think ultimately that's why I side on, I'm more than cool with Christian artists working with non-Christian artists and being influenced by non-Christian artists, if that's what God has told them to do.
Right.
And I totally get if their conviction is opposite of that, if they feel like God doesn't want them to do that, because you can definitely be influenced negatively.
Right. And I feel like the church overall has kind of dropped the ball when it came to maintaining, like they've done a great job on the alternative side. Excellent job. Like alternative Christian music and even non-Christian, like alternative music that's made by Christian artists, like ridiculous followings, like subcultures out the wazoo, like it's nuts. Mm-hmm. But I would say on like the Christian hip hop and gospel side, they stopped putting, they didn't put enough, there hasn't been enough emphasis in the church on building that, like building the uniqueness of that, so that it actually has its own distinct, thing that
there's
people
not
want to listen to.
there's not a lot of churches promoting creativity at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because like I don't want to make this about like church necessarily, but like a lot of church is looking at it as a business side, and you know, that's good in some cases, bad in most, but a lot of times that leads to lack of creativity, lack of changing things up, out of fear, right? And that's something that I come back to 1 John 4, I believe, is talking about how like there's no fear in love. So if we are to be fully of God, if we are to be fully engulfed in the presence and the love of God, we can't be afraid to innovate. We can't be afraid to explore and create. So I think like full circle moment, innovation comes in all sorts of avenues. It can be from the church, it could be elsewhere, but I agree, like the church definitely has dropped the ball when it comes to promoting innovation.
Yeah. I think honestly, for as far as Christian music's concerned, even Christian hip hop, like as long if the church can get back to promoting originality in that genre, because a lot of even what hip hop and jazz is based out of comes straight from gospel and church music.
Yeah.
You know, like it literally comes from like slave music. Like
so
like that time period, you literally see and hear the transformation. It's a lot of what's influenced blues, which influenced jazz, which influenced hip hop. So it's like there was always some originality and some uniqueness, you know, there. It just stopped being built on in the Christian aspect, and then it kept getting built on in the secular side.
Yeah, which is why it makes sense for, if you're trying to influence the most amount of people, to pull from the secular side.
Yeah, and it make like, and I get why people lean that direction, and I just think that the church has to find its own musical identity again. And once that's done, I think then you'll start to see a difference in like how the music's received, because people listen to it because it's good and not just because it's, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's my biggest, like, people ask me like, oh, you don't really listen to a lot of, no, I don't listen to a lot of Christian gospel anything, because a lot of it's not good. You know what I mean?
Amen, bro. A lot of it's not good. A lot of it sounds the same.
Yeah,
not creative.
Every time I turn on the gospel station, the first 3 songs sound like the next 3 songs, and it gets boring, you know. And it's like there's plenty of other artists out here for me to listen to that aren't putting out a negative message that I actually like to listen to, you know. And people they get offended because like, oh, you should support your, I get it, but like, you know, cloud chasing's only gonna go for so far, you know.
Facts, bro. Hey, man, anything else that you want to add before we call it?
No, man, it's been great.
It's been great. I think
this understanding now.
Yeah, man. Well, that's the thing, bro. I think every time you get into conversations like this, you walk away smarter and wiser. And now I think a safe conclusion would be like, only blur the lines when God calls you to blur the lines.
There you go.
There we go.
God erases that line for you and do what you got to do.
Yes, sir. Hey, appreciate everybody watching this. If you stuck around to the very end, congratulations. You're amongst the first to know that my new single, Patience, featuring Rob B and Isaac Mather, will be available everywhere September 24th, 1 week from today. I appreciate everybody who decided to leave a like, subscribe. Jadon, anything that you would like to promote or say before we end the video?
All of y'all support my man Apex, man. He's the best. You got to get in there, subscribe, like, share it onto your social media, spread it around.
Pre-save the new song. Pre-saves help tremendously with the Spotify algorithm.
The music, everything.
Yes, sir. Oh, I saw my friend Casey texted me earlier today and said that I was 10 listeners away from cracking the 1,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. So
there you go, man. Hey.
Let's hit it if we haven't hit it by the time this video's out. All right, bro. Appreciate you hopping on. It's been a pleasure. We'll have to have you back soon. And take it easy, my guy.
You too, man.
All right, peace.